The following program was recorded on an earlier date for presentation at this time.
Hey guys, this is Timmy. Jester Nathan can't be with me this week to shoot this one because I'm like 2,000 miles away from our various dubious shooting locations in southern Indiana, and I am in California for the first time ever, so that's fun. I'm in downtown San Diego, so hopefully we'll get some cool stuff shot for you guys. This technical related while I'm here this week. But right now, I want to talk a little bit about some stuff I learned from the internet back when the World Wide Web was new. So many years ago, around 1999 or 2000, when the web was still young, the World Wide Web, I stumbled across a website called 80stvthemes.com. It basically was a large collection of Real Player G2 encoded video clips, and Real Player was a media player that did streaming. It was probably one of the very first streaming audio and video players, and the resolution was terrible. And all the clips on this site were very, very low resolution. However, this was my first experience with the concept of the internet being used to store historical data, like video from the past. While that site, 80tvsthemes.com, is long dead, you can still find it on web.archive.org, which is a cool site. We ought to cover one of these days. But especially in light of sites like YouTube and Vimeo, if I even said that right, it introduced me to much of what television was like before I was born. I'm born in the early 80s, so there's a lot I don't remember from real life. I found it interesting to see the changes in the on-screen graphics over time with the original networks. So on that, from the 50s until the late 80s, television in the United States essentially consisted of three major broadcast networks. All three derived from radio networks that existed already many years prior. The first of which I believe was at NBC, both in radio and television. I have to look that up. But you had CBS, ABC, and NBC. Via 80stvthemes.com and other things I saw on YouTube, it became clear that one of these three networks didn't belong. No, one of these three networks took a while to settle into its identity and trademark, which is well known today. I mean, they're trademarked today on screen and on their television stations. I mean, it's like Golden Arches, McDonald's kind of well known. So let's go back in time real quick. In 1951, the year before they debuted the series I Love Lucy, CBS introduced their iMark logo, which is more or less still in use today. In 1962, ABC introduced their familiar round logo with the letters ABC in it. Both of these trademarks are still in use today, pretty much unchanged. However, the NBC television network had tried many different logos and on-screen branding in their many years of existence, only reaching the stability of their logo in the late 80s. I know what you're thinking. I thought they always had the peacock. Well, yes and no. The peacock for many years was a regular on-screen item for NBC, but it was not their official logo. NBC, which at the time was majority owned by RCA, was a pioneer in the advent of what was known as compatible color television. Before the peacock, they identified a color broadcast, the first of which took place in 1954 in this manner.
The following program is brought to you in compatible color, pioneered and developed by RCA.
Fortunately, this only exists in kinescope form, which was literally a black and white film camera, like movie camera, pointed at a TV screen, a black and white TV screen. Of course, it wouldn't matter if it was color or not, since they were using black and white film. And that was in order to capture live performances for preservation on film. They also used these kinescopes to ship television shows shot live in New York City to the West Coast here in California as a way to broadcast them that way. Videotape was being invented in the late 50s, but it really didn't start getting used in any great consistent manner until the 1960s. So in the logo you just saw, the word color would have been logo, the on-screen graphic, I guess you would call it, the slide. I don't know. The word color would have been in various colors. Color videotape, you know, like I said, didn't come until later. Videotape itself didn't come until later in most cases. So many things like that aren't preserved in color. Once the peacock identifier for color broadcast came to be in 1956, it was initially a still image, such as this one, also pulled from no kinescope film.
The following program is brought to you in compatible color, pioneered and developed by RCA.
This next clip is a bit of an aside. One of the earliest 2-inch color videotape masters still in existence allows us to see the original animated NBC Peacock in full color as it was broadcast live in October 1958. And it's like broadcast quality. It could have been shot, you know, 10 years ago on tape. It looks that good. It's from an NBC special called An Evening with Fred Astaire, well-known tap dancer, I guess, dancer in general. It was recorded on an experimental RCA color videotape recorder, which was very large. The playback mechanism was restored in the 80s by a team who had to recreate the early electronic design of the VTR videotape recorder, similar to VCR, video cassette recorder, with information from the retired, they had to restore it using information from the retired RCA engineers who created it. Like they literally went to the guy's house and used hand-drawn schematics that he had of the circuit to get it to reproduce video correctly. You're about to see a small part of what is essentially the oldest color videotape recording of a network show in existence.
And the Thin Man, usually seen at this time, will not be presented tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, the following program is being brought to you in living color on NBC.
In 1962, this original Peacock animation you just saw was replaced by this one, which first aired during a Western show in 1962 and was used virtually unchanged. They cut the intro off of it later on a bit in the 70s, but it was used all the way up until 1975.
The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
As I mentioned earlier, the original in living color Peacock was not actually NBC identified itself in general on air or in print advertising or in all those years. In 1959, NBC introduced what would become known as their snake logo. Here it is from 1959.
This is the NBC television network.
NBC would utilize this logo as their main logo from 1959 until 1975. Here are several on-air examples of it across many years in the 60s and 70s.
Monday at 9, 8 Central Time on NBC.
Friday night on NBC.
Produced in color in association with the NBC Television Network.
History movie at 8:30, 7:30 Central Time. Mary Shelley's classic novel comes to life in Frankenstein, The True Story. Monday night at 9, 8 Central Time on NBC. A deputy police commissioner puts his job on the line when he helps a friend cover up a murder on Columbo. Tonight at 8:30, 7:30 Central Time on NBC.
Basically, NBC's on-air presentation remained mostly unchanged completely for between 1959 and 1975. As an example, here's a daytime preemption from the 1974-75 TV season in the last months of the branding's use, really.
The programs usually seen at this time will not be presented today, so that we may bring you a special program. This program is brought to you in living color on NBC. The opening and some non-presentation portions were pre-recorded.
So in 1976, NBC had its 50th anniversary of their radio network's founding. The NBC TV network made several changes for the occasion for fall 1976. The Peacock was thrown out, and had been gone for about a year already, honestly. They had just used the snake logo. It made sense since, in living color wasn't that special. All three American TV networks had gone full color way back in the 1966-67 television season. So shows like Andy Griffith and I'm sure there were a couple others went color that season, even though they've been black and white for many years prior. So brought to you in living color wasn't a big deal anymore at all, the peacock. And the snake logo had been in use for 17 years, and it was also retired at the time. They replaced this with a then modern, 70s modern, trapezoid N logo that NBC invested $1 million of R&D for its creation. And it was NBC's main logo branding from 1976 until 1979. And here's some examples.
This is the NBC television network.
On TV, The Savage Bees, Monday at 9, 8 Central and Mountain Time on NBC.
Injustice and to become the legend of the Golden Gun. Tuesday. Premiering Friday, January 26th.
Most Deadly Passage. Tuesday at 9, 8 Central and Mountain, right after the Chuck Barris Raw.
Brothers and Sisters, Super Bowl Sunday on the new NBC.
So although NBC had made a significant shift in the look and feel in the late 70s, their ratings were terrible. They were getting trounced by the other two of the big three networks, CBS and ABC. ABC had reached #1 for the first time ever in 1977 and 78, on the strength of several well-known sitcoms like Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley and others. And NBC ranked 3rd out of 3. Their only real hit at the time was the television series Little House on the Prairie, which had been on the network since 1974. And but then in 1978, the only show that would be a comedy hit, or maybe the only hit of the trapezoid N logo era, debuted.
Friday on Different Strokes, a social worker threatens to take away the children.
Arnold, do you miss seeing black children your own age?
No, ma'am. If I miss seeing a black kid my age, all I gotta do is look in the mirror.
Different Strokes, Friday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on NBC.
In the fall of 1979, after being absent for 4 years, NBC launched a fall promo campaign that I hope was pretty cringeworthy even in 1979.
See why we're
proud as a peacock.
They used this promo campaign again for the fall for the 1980 and 81 television season. The peacock was updated to symmetrical colors, and the look in the peacock was laid on top of the trapezoid N from the previous 4 or previous 5 years. And this became the basis for most of their look throughout the 80s. Television production in general became more advanced and clean at the onset of the 1980s, and NBC stylized their top-of-the-hour primetime IDs to match their promo music and such each year, and transitioned from film graphics to computer-rendered animation by 1984, all using what became known as the Proud N logo, I guess because of the proud as a peacock thing originally, where it first showed up. So here's a compilation of the first 5 years of the 1980s.
This is NBC.
This is NBC. This is NBC, the network that swept the Emmys.
We're NBC, just watch us now.
This is the NBC television network.
You can NBC there, be there.
This is the NBC television network. This is the NBC television network.
NBC, let's all be there.
NBC, at the same time as this logo, had a magnificent turnaround in popularity and quality of their shows between especially 1982 and 85. Here's a few shows you might have heard of that debuted in these years.
I'm in favor of marriage, especially if it's mine. A good marriage is based on honesty, compassion, and trust. Funds. You left out the most important thing, love.
That's because she'll have trouble finding someone who loves her as much as she does.
The Facts of Life Wednesday.
Thursday on Cheers, Sam makes his move and gets thrown for a loop. Knight Rider, the 2-hour movie spectacular, crashes into your living room.
I don't believe this.
Don't miss Knight Rider the movie, Sunday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain. Wednesday, the surprise is out of the box. It's a gift of love and laughter.
We're here!
A new comedy, Family Ties. Meredith Baxter Burney and Michael Gross stars flower children of the 60s raising a family in the 80s.
This guy sounds like he's in pain.
He's supposed to be in pain. He's a folk singer.
Family Ties, coming to the box in your house Wednesday.
Magnum, ha. Houston, don't make me laugh. Don't be caught with those wimps. Play ball with the A-team. Right after the Super Bowl.
Next Sunday
on NBC.
This fall, NBC's got 3 great new comedies. First, Bill Cosby's back.
Who's in trouble now?
As a loving family man.
I am your father. I brought you in this world, and I'll take you out.
Then meet Punky Brewster. She's a little lost girl who's about to adopt an old codger.
Happily ever after.
By me.
And Jason Bateman may look like a typical teenager, but don't turn your back on him on It's Your Move.
You're gonna laugh.
And 3 great new comedies on NBC.
Saturday on The Golden Girls, Dorothy invites her ex-husband to her daughter's wedding.
Tell the dirtbag he can come.
But she has second thoughts.
I never should have called him.
You never should have married him.
Then 227. It's too much fun and 2 times the surprises you won't want to miss.
Of course not.
With the outrageous Marla Gibbs. Saturday.
Let's all be there.
Finally, in May 1986, NBC celebrated its 60th anniversary. Much like 10 years before, they introduced another updated logo for the network, and that's the current peacock that is still in use today.
This is the NBC Television Network.
So in many ways, this is a study in marketing. It's intriguing to see how the oldest television network presented itself to viewers over several decades of time, and how they evolved with time, trying to reinvent their branding occasionally. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of 3 Old Tech Dudes on location here in beautiful San Diego, California. Be sure to like us on Facebook and give this video a like on YouTube here and subscribe. We're really trying to grow our channel here, and hope you'll be willing to help us out, share our videos. On behalf of Nathan and Justin, this is Timmy for 3 Old Tech Dudes.